Welcome everyone, Victoria Haffer here, and I'm so excited to say that this is episode number 1, season number 1 of the You Are the Universe podcast, hosted by me. I'm so excited. I literally woke up this morning. I knew that I wanted to start a podcast for a while now, and this morning Spirit gave me a very strong message and said, now is the time. Today is the day. So this is on May 7th, 2024, episode number 1. And I'm just going to chat a little bit about me, who I am, and, what brought me here today. So over 30 years, do I dare say that? Over 30 years of facilitating transformation for myself, as well as hundreds and thousands of other amazing souls on the planet and beyond. And so just a quick little bit of my background, how I came to be. I started in the fitness industry as a teenager. And by the age of 17, I was actually teaching and certifying group fitness instructors. And by the age of 23, I was certifying personal trainers and traveling all over the world. I've always had a quench for knowledge. I love to learn, love to read, love to take. In the past, I've taken so many trainings and certifications. Right, like my resume is pretty in depth. And like Tony Robbins says, if you're not learning, if you're not growing, you're dying. So let's put it that way. But now I kind of focus more on tapping into my higher self and really tapping into the knowledge that the universe has to bring me and provide for me. Hence where we are today, right here, right now. And so fitness, I pretty much did high-level, high-end fitness, wellness, health focus for the first 20 years of my career. And I had managed high-level corporate fitness facilities. And then yoga showed up, and it was actually before yoga was on every street corner as it is now, or was at least pre-COVID. And I started teaching some yoga and had my own yoga school and traveled all over the world certifying yoga teachers. And I actually lived in an ashram, a spiritual community, for 5 years in Massachusetts, and that was amazing. I was the director of the Yoga Retreat Center. It was a non-denominational center in the core, in the heart of the actual Sikh ashram. And it was a pretty amazing experience. I really met some amazing people. I grew a lot. I learned a lot. So that's a whole other podcast. And then towards the end of my time there, literally the grasshopper showed up for me. Grasshopper, and hopefully if you stick around and you listen to our episodes, we're going to be talking about all things in the universe is magic, and how they're our greatest teachers. And so the grasshopper showed up, which represents the taking the leap. Literally, the grasshopper showed up, like on the outside door of my office, outside door of my apartment, outside door of my meditation room. There was just, the grasshopper said, it's time to make a change. And as much as I loved the position that I was in, I loved the people, it was wonderful. But when my soul speaks, I listen. I really do. And, I'm not going to wait for that boulder to fall on my head. I've learned too many lessons from that. And so I knew it was some time to do something else. And at that point, I started, it was actually the year of the horse in Chinese astrology. And the horse came to me. I've always had a strong connection to animals, loved animals, but I was a little fearful of horses, right? If you've never been around them or you didn't grow up with them, they're these big, magnificent, large, quote unquote, unpredictable creatures, and you just don't know what they're going to do next. And so I decided to move into equine facilitated coaching. And at that point, I enrolled in the amazing training with my teacher, who was Kathy Pike, in Colorado. It was a pretty intense 2-year experience, back and forth. And again, I learned so much from there. There was a lot happening there. And at that point, I started to do more coaching with individuals and working with animals on a more full-time basis. I was still teaching a lot of classes. I've always loved to teach yoga and fitness and Pilates and all those things. But it was really time for me to move in and kind of go the next step, and doing, equine facilitated coaching, and then working with people and animals more in a long distance capacity. And also at that time, I got the message to become a professional dog trainer. So at 47 years old, I once again reinvented myself and became a professional dog trainer. And I did go pretty deep with that for a good 5 years or so. I had moved to Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island at that time, and was, living on my own, and then literally collided with my beloved partner. And he is originally from Maine, and we both had moved to Providence, and we met each other at a local business networking. And 6 months later, we moved in together. And 6 months after that, we literally moved to North Carolina. So that's where I am now. And so once again, reinventing myself, showing up to an area I did not know anybody. And I had to kind of, take the time to get people to know, like, and trust me, and start to infiltrate my roots into the beautiful lands of North Carolina in the Raleigh area. And at that point, again, my soul had been calling to me. And, again, it's the same thing, sort of like, what's next, what's next, what's next. And as an Aries, my fire sign, my sun side is in Aries, patience is not a virtue of mine. And I kind of want things yesterday, and I had used to, growing up, I pretty much was, I would have to say, there was a lot of toxicity. I had a pretty intense childhood, great parents, but my dad was an alcoholic. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and so kind of had to hold space for the family at a really young age. And so it did a great toll on my adrenals, for sure, the fight or flight. And then, definitely the core wound, which so many of us have, is that, never feeling good enough, never feeling smart enough, never thinking, am I, pretty enough, all of these things. And I had all those inner demons that I basically had to deal with over the course of my adulthood, up until I started to really take a really deep, dark look, which really wasn't probably until 10 or more years ago. And where I really started taking the deep dive and doing the shadow work, as you might know what that is. And that's basically when you start to look at pull out the stuff from Pandora's box that we stuffed away when we were little girls and little boys. So that's kind of that's been happening for me over, and if any healer tells you that they've done their healing, then you better run fast away from them, because we always have more stuff to unpack, right? In our chest, in our closet, in our box, whatever that is. Once something is healed and released, then you can go a deeper level at that point. And so it's always, the exploration is always there if you choose it. Right? That's the thing. If you choose it. So if you're happy with your life, perfectly, and, but are you meant for that? Like, this is the thing. People kind of get stuck, and they just don't even realize that they've hit a ceiling or a wall where it's just what they're used to. And everything has to do with our belief systems and what we bought, the stories we bought, the belief systems that we bought when we were little girls and little boys. So, what is it that you want? What do you want to cultivate? What do you want to create? What do you want to manifest? What do you want to let go of? Right? All of those questions. And on a daily basis, are you sitting with yourself, right? That's the thing. That's one of the things that for me, I had a lot of toxic relationships, with friendships and with romance. I was looking for love in all the wrong places. So when I found my beloved, and he was a pretty good match for me, in that he made me feel safe. And, he truly supported me and helped me really heal my heart. And it was pretty broken and pretty smashed up. And I had massive, massive trust issues my entire life. And I was the I was considered a loner, the lone wolf. Even though I knew a lot of people, I basically just chose to be away. I didn't even realize that I was an empath. For those of you who don't know what that is, an empath is, or a highly sensitive person. Since I was young, I was always extremely sensitive to sounds and to smells and to energy. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that I was a psychic empath until, I don't know, maybe 15 plus years ago, and started to realize that, wow, the majority of the stuff that I was feeling wasn't even mine. It wasn't even mine. And so as, I've come across these last 30 years of facilitating transformation, mind, body, and soul for other people, I started to do some really deep healing work on myself. Whew, I gotta tell you, it's not easy per se, but staying stuck in the place that I was, as you all know, the definition of insanity, you know what it is, continuing to do the same thing over and over and over and over again and expecting a damn different result. So that is definitely insane. And so in facilitating and working with my clients and teaching them how to gently and lovingly unpack while being present with what is. And, so much of my past training of, 20 years of intense yoga and meditation and mantra and all the good stuff, all the amazing tools. And they're all tools and they're all part of who I am as a soul, as a person. And just remembering, clearly I was some yogi in a past life, because I'm so drawn to the practice of it and to the study of it. It's such a beautiful philosophy to be in, but really, being for so long, literally just feeling so alone. That was a big part of it. Even though on the outside nobody really knew that I was very much extroverted, didn't realize truly I was an introvert extrovert. And so I was around a lot of people, but then I was always wonder why I didn't feel good, when I would leave them. And as I have learned and grown and trained and studied and, come into the space of realizing that the doing isn't the thing, right? Like I was a real good doer, doing that, it was I would consider a toxic masculine trait of the always having to prove myself. It wasn't until I even realized what masculine versus feminine energies were, the yin and the yang energy, that feminine, the divine feminine essence of the receiving and the being and the cooling and connecting to your lunar cycles and the moon and all of that, where I started to realize that I was so out of flippin' balance with the masculine and feminine energies in my life. And so anyway, so these are just some of the topics that we will be covering in the podcast, right? You are the universe. And really, what does that mean? You are the universe. It really means that if you're not activating your sovereign divinity, sovereignty is that, that oath that you take to say that I know best. I know best over anybody else, over my body, over my mind, right? Just because somebody has a white coat doesn't mean they know more than you. When we allow ourselves to tap into our true divine knowing, tapping into that higher self, that part of you that is all knowing, all loving, and non-judging, you start to trust yourself again, right? So in working with clients and my students, I teach you how to reclaim the parts of you that you just ignored or threw away or whatever when you were a child. When we're opening up that box and we start to unpack some of the old hurts, it's not just about the parts of us that we think are ugly or shameful or fat, right? It's also the parts of us that were our gifts, that were shunned, that were, maybe you used to love to sing as a child and someone told you that you didn't have a good voice, and from that day off you stopped singing. So it's really about, going deep and tapping into the purest parts of you that bring you joy and can bring you healing, right? So the thing is, you know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. And that's what a coach or a spiritual teacher or a meditation teacher can help you to support you with, right? And so basically I'm here to hold that space for you, to say that you are the universe. Stop waiting for a sign. You are the sign. So really, in going through the process of deleting, destroying, and uncreating all of the things, the beliefs that you just have been standing in the way of you stepping into a portal of a new way of being, right? You don't have to chronically suffer. You don't have to be experiencing chronic pain. I have healed myself from so many things that I want to support you with, right? Whatever that thing is. Every listener is going to have something different. But I do believe that I have some information and things to share that the world could benefit from. And I do hope that you feel the same. So just some of the things that I've healed myself. In early 20s, I had an eating disorder. I used to chronically eat. I would sit and eat ice cream and cereal and cookies, and I would just eat like nonstop while I was mindlessly watching TV. And then I would put on my leotard and I would go and compulsively exercise. So purging your food, as in the world of bulimia, you don't have to vomit. There's other ways to purge. You could do laxatives, you can do compulsive over-exercising. So there's lots of different ways. But I healed my relationship with food and with my body, right? Now it's always happening, and there's always more layers to it, but I did. And to this day, I have a very healthy relationship with food in my body. I healed my relationship with looking for love in all the wrong places. So I had a love addiction, and I was constantly looking outside of myself for that fulfillment and that happiness, and that, I was looking for somebody, most importantly, particularly a man, to make me feel whole. And again, in that relationship, in coming into partnership with my beloved, before I had met him, I had done a lot of deep work around that, right? So that's it. Also, I have healed myself from chronic anxiety and depression through dietary things, through exercise, and really understanding how the brain, supports us in serotonin levels and dopamine and oxytocin and all of those things. But most importantly, every physical ailment that we have, the dis-ease in the body, is really always connected to some sort of emotional stagnation or emotional holding in the physical body. And we will also talk a lot about the nadis, the energy centers, the meridians, the chakras, so all aspects of that, as I had mentioned earlier, that we will talk about how you can heal you, how you can truly be the abundance that you really are, right? There's people always saying, I want, looking outside of themselves to be abundant. And we are truly abundant. We are truly abundant. It's the challenge are the limitations that we put on ourselves, the fragmentations. If you have dealt with micro or macro traumas at a younger age, often we will disassociate during times of extreme stress or trauma, which means literally we check out, and then we don't know how to feel safe in our own physical body. So as a life and body holistic coach, right, I teach you how to fully embody the principles of holistic healing, mind, body, soul. And I think how I do it pretty well, because I meet people where they're at, right? I don't have a cookie cutter approach program. There are general things that will encompass as we get deeper into the future podcasts that you'll learn and hear from me. However, everything is very personalized for each individual, because everybody is different and every body is different, as you know. So I hope that you are as excited as I am about future episodes. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for you, my listeners, and let me know what topics you'd like to hear about. Again, it's going to be pretty broad, but everything will be around the nature, Mother Nature, the plant medicine, the animal kingdom on the astral plane, as well as the physical aspect, your relationship with yourself. Really, it's about everything is about relationships, right? Everything, we have a relationship with every aspect of us. So the center core of the paradigm is you. That is why you are the universe. You are the center, and you create your reality, right? Through your thoughts, your words, your actions, your belief systems, all of it. So I'm here for you. I'm here to support you in all aspects of your life. And I look forward to future episodes with you. Be and see the magic in everyday life.